Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Mabimpressions, and today I'm going to be reviewing Rune Dice. This is a roguelike dice pool building type of game where you chuck dice to deal damage against enemies. I'll be showing you some gameplay, giving you an overview of what to expect, the good, the bad, and ultimately if I recommend this game and to who, so let's get started. There's no real story to this game, but the setting takes place in a whimsical fantasy world full of heroes like warriors, mages, bards, and enemies like orcs, man-eating plants, and so on. The majority of the game you'll be doing is going on roguelite runs, which involve battling, improving your dice and equipment, going to different nodes to reach the boss of various acts, and unlocking new meta upgrades. There's a link to my Let's Play channel below if you want to see the full playthroughs of all the games that we cover here. Also, follow me on Twitch where we stream most days. Thanks. Alright, so to dive deeper into the gameplay loop, let's first talk about the roguelite runs themselves. And they are relatively fast if you want to talk about other games in the genre like Slay the Spire and Balatro. I would even say they take around 15 to 30 minutes. Basically, you select the class right before you go in, and the different classes that you get at the beginning are like, a ranger, a sort of thief character, a mage, and you get a knight later on. You're going to be selecting a boss who can range between poison dryads, undead enemies, gigantic spiders, and then you just go on the run. Now let's move on to the battling. So at the top, you can see your character. On the top left, on the top right, you can see all the different enemies. They have intentions, they have their HP, and they have their sort of special abilities. You're going to be taking turns against the enemy. When you go, you chuck a dice, things happen, then the enemy goes. They either attack if they're range, maybe take a turn to power up, or slowly move forward towards you. And when they reach you and they get to go again, they'll do their abilities, which is usually just damaging. So you're going to be, once again, throwing a dice. So how this works is you always start, and you can change this later, but you always start with a 1 white dice. The colors don't really matter. It just really helps you figure out at a glance to know what number is what. A white is always going to be a number 1. A 7 is always going to be orange, and so on. So how it works is, depending on the different dice that you throw, and a lot of them are basic dice, but there's ones like gold and special abilities, they will do different damage or healing depending on the value. So if you throw a 1 into another 1 and that's it for the turn, you will deal 1 damage per value of that dice. Also, if you're able to combine a 3 and a 3, you will be doing 2 instances of 3 damage, and there's lots of ways to modify that as well. Obviously, you can get buffs for your character, so those 3s will do 4 damages, and once you combine them, then they increase in value and become another dice on the board. So once you combine the 1 with the 1, it'll become a 2, and it'll jump towards the closest 2 that's near it. Now, this could be a 2 that you have on the board already, a 1 that you have curated, or even crazier, boss dice. And if you can accidentally combine any sort of enemy / boss dices, their abilities are going to activate, which is like poisoning you, buffing themselves up, etc. So you're going to be throwing dices with different abilities as well. I'm going to have this bard, for example. There's healing dice where it heals you on the value. There is a mockery one where it lowers the enemy's damage depending on the value. There's a bomb one which explodes and knocks everything all around and makes things go crazy. Lots of different values, abilities, things to combine. And that's how battling kind of works. You go until the enemy dies or you die. And you also have consumables that you can use as well, which do things like modify the board states, heal you, give you shield, etc. Moving over to improving your dice and equipment. First of all, how do you improve? There's different ways to do so. Each class has their own starting dice. For example, if you start with the mage, you have like a couple of arcane dice, some regular dice that do different things. But then as you fight enemies, there are different things on the board. There's gold that you can get, which once again, on the value depending, that's what you're going to gain. You can go to different shops to buy new dice, buy new relics, buy these consumables. Also, in the middle of battle, sometimes you're going to see these cool dice where if you are able to combine them, like, you know, a 4 to a 4 that's already on the board, or you combine a 3 into 3 and go into the 4, you are basically going to be able to upgrade your dice. So you can get a new dice from a random pool of neutral ones or ones that your class specifically has. So you're not going to see like an ice dice if you're using the warrior class, for example. But basically everyone has access to like, you know, the healing dice or the bomb dice, right? But there's also upgrades where you increase the value themselves. Not your starting dice, but basically any one of your special dice. It's like, oh, I have a vicious mockery that always starts at 2. However, for the run, I can now start it at 3, which, you know, makes it so you can combine it with different ones on the board and also, you know, just have more sort of value that way. All right. Also, you can get relics. You get relics also from rewards from battles and also from shops and different events there. Now, these are relics like you would see in a lot of sort of roguelike deck building games where they have a lot of passive effects. Like, oh, at the end of battle, you're going to heal a little bit. Or when you start your turn, your dice has a 25% chance to be a healing dice, etc. So lots of different ones you can get throughout your run. They just help you out. You can pretty much have an unlimited amount if you can grab them. And there's also consumables. As I mentioned before, these things you can carry a bunch with you. You get them throughout the run, and you can heal with them, activate them, use abilities, and all that. Now, let's talk about the different nodes. There are basic battle nodes where you jump in and pretty much kill them before they kill you. There's stronger enemies where it's the same thing, except they're a little stronger. And there's elites. Now, these guys are pretty tough, and they usually give high rewards. I recommend fighting them as much as possible. They're not too bad. Then there are the shops, as I mentioned, lots of different dice you can buy, relics, different sorts of consumables. You're able to sell dice and consumables to them as well if you don't want to. You can always re-roll as well. Then there are treasure nodes. You simply go into it and you get a reward, but sometimes the treasure might be a mimic, so you're going to have to fight that. Then my favorite node is the jester one. This is a sort of bonus level if you can get to it. Basically, you go to the jester, and his board consists of tons of rewards, monies, upgrades, relics, new dice, and you have to try to cascade as much as possible to get some things and then just really power up. And then there's a weird little push your luck sort of upgrade node where it says, oh, there's a 50% chance for this node, if you choose, select one of your dice and you're going to be able to duplicate it, or oh, you can upgrade your dice to a new value. However, if you fail, some things might happen, but sometimes not. Now, it's at a 50% chance, 60, 70% chance, and you have ways to, you know, increase the odds. You can sacrifice health. You can sacrifice a random die. You can even sacrifice some extra money to increase the odds. And I'm going to tell you now, I had some BS runs where, oh, a 95er failed, which kind of sucks. So those are the different types of nodes you're going to be seeing throughout the game. Then, of course, they are the meta unlocks. This is a roguelite. So you're going to be finding and upgrading new bosses. You are going to be having new biomes, new different classes, new class variations. For example, the starting mage that you get is primarily an arcane one. You're going to be unlocking a straight fire one, which starts with more, you know, fire dice and maybe a new relic, and then new difficulties. Every boss can be fought on normal or hard mode. So that is the gameplay in a nutshell. Okay, so let's talk about the good of the game. I would say that battling itself is pretty unique. It's responsive with the way you throw the dice. You know, you can go ahead and make some cool sort of nice plays by bouncing your dice against the wall, because remember, you only combine dice with the same value. So yeah, you can hit a dice into a 1, it becomes a 2, the 2 jumps to a 2, a 2 jumps to a 3, or you can use the 1, smack into a 3, it pushes the 3 into another 3, which makes a 4, and it goes to another 4. So lots of cool different ways that you can do there. Really cool combo potential. It's basically you're playing pool, but with dice. So instead of infinite rolling, it's going to slide and be all that. Also, runs are relatively fast in this game, 15 to 30 minutes. I would definitely play this on 2x speed once you get used to the UI, because it's just a lot slower. But even at 2x speed, I felt it was a little slow at times because you have to wait for all of the enemies to go through. And if you cascade a lot, you know, all the dice have to resolve. Sometimes it's a little too long. So I hope, you know, they add like a 2.5 or a 3x speed for that as well. Okay, then basically another thing that is really good here is the unlocks are a lot of fun. it, like I said, it starts you with a good amount of classes, but you unlock a bunch different variations. You know, basically it unlocks through challenges like, oh, you have to use ice this amount of times, you have to use consumables this amount of times. Basically stuff that you're going to be doing throughout the game. It'll slowly build, and at the end of each run you're going to be able to see a sort of progression bar, and then it goes, okay, you unlocked a new class. This is the bard class, and then with the new class you unlock, you have to do new stuff very specific to that class to unlock more and more. So there's a lot of classes, and once again, the variations of them really good, and the challenges, I think the challenges are great. Basically how I like to play this game is when you start the game, it tells you, hey, which boss do you want to fight, which class do you want to fight. You can hover over a boss you've defeated already, and it says what difficulty you have beaten them at with what character. So it basically gives you a visual goal, like, okay, there's an act 1 boss that I have to beat like 8 times. I want to beat him with each different character. So then it lights up, it shows you you've beaten them, so you can, you know, practice and fight these guys and do all that stuff. So that's the good stuff about the game. Let's talk about a little bit of the bad stuff though. So runs are fast. I know I said they are good, but in this case, I believe it is a double-edged sword. Yeah, they're fast, they're quick, you can go through them, but you can't really build up and be overpowered, meaning runs end when you are just getting your footing. You know, make some sort of builds and relics feel really weak, especially ones that say, hey, for the rest of the run, every battle, you go ahead and heal. Well, if you already get it towards the end of the game, you don't need it. Also, maybe the last 75% of the run, you get a relic that says all of the shop items are now half off. Well, there's no shops left because there's nothing left to do. Or even if it's one shop left, that's not a good enough reason to grab it. So it does feel like there could be more. And it's basically, this kind of feels like a sort of early access demo version of what could be. Because with these sort of games, I'm in the habit of getting to Act 1 with all my stuff done. Okay, time for a more difficulty Act 2 with all my stuff. Go on. Then Act 3, and then you continue going. So the reason why it's like that is basically because they said, the developer said, I read one of their posts, they said that it was really hard to balance if they wanted to do the traditional classic going mid to late game, Act 2, Act 3 with the same build. They said that too many dices were on the board and it was really hard to balance it out. Now I can kind of understand that, but all they have to do is kind of tone back the way it works, and then they can make it work. Because basically, I don't know, it's quick, but I kind of wish it lasted a little bit longer as well. And also, some bosses in this game can definitely feel a little bit unfair depending on your class, depending on your build. However, it is mitigated by you being the player actually knowing which boss is coming up, because you chose the boss, you chose the class. But it's still a little bullshitty when you're trying to complete it and you're like, these dice just don't work too well against this boss. But I guess that's what makes the challenging a little bit fun there. So overall, do I recommend this game? I would absolutely say yes. I think it stands out enough just with the combat itself. It seems simple at first, you're just throwing those dice, but then there's deeper strategy depending on how you build your pool. You know, oh, do I want more attack dice, more healing dice, or screw it, all bombs, so you know, so we can get all chaos on the board. Basically, whether or not you want to simply combine the same numbers, push dice around, cause cascades, play around enemy intentions, different abilities. There's a lot going on here, and like I said, the only thing that could hold you back is the run length, 15 to 30. You know, some people might think that's good. It really just depends, but I'm telling you now, I really wish there was a regular mode. However, as I am recording, there was an update on the Steam blogs saying that they want to add in the classic mode due to feedback like myself and other players, because it's just kind of weird. It just feels like it's incomplete. But basically, they need to figure out how to balance it, and they are actually going through, I think, a beta branch where people can test it out and give more stuff. So I think I'm definitely going to be revisiting the game once they can get a cool build going where we can test that out and see if it's actually something we really needed with this particular game. Okay, so to top everything off here, who do I recommend this game to? I feel like, hey, if you got time for another roguelike deck builder type of game, then this is great value at $15. It's even better on a sale. $10, you get crazy value with this game. The promise of upcoming patches with new content and modes. This game seems like it's going to get support for a little bit. Constant unlocks and difficulties already in the game should keep you busy for a while. I think it's pretty fun. So that was my thoughts on Rune Dice. Whether you agree or disagree, I'd like to know. Please comment down below. Thanks for watching. Head on over to the Let's Play channel and stream for more gameplay of things we review on the channel. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.